Welcome. Welcome to our first live Peaceful Foundations video.
Yep.
Yeah, this is exciting. We are planning to be live every Friday, and we're live on Mondays with Waldorf Essentials. For those of you that homeschool, we're live there. But this, I think, is going to be really exciting too, because it's all parenting, all partnering, all the time. So today's topic is family rhythm, and sort of like what that is, and then also why it's important. And so I think that maybe first I should talk about what it is.
Yes.
So family rhythm is like, often what we see is we see families that just sort of exist. They don't have a plan ahead of them. They don't, excuse me, they don't have a plan ahead of them. They don't have things mapped out for their families. They don't have, good morning, Kristen, sorry. They don't have things mapped out. They don't have, they're not cohesively on the same page. And I lived that existence, in my previous life.
And they feel like they're barely tolerating their life.
Right. They're barely tolerating their life and each other. And I think in the kids are then like bumping up against that, and there's behavior issues, and it's just a struggle, I think, for everybody around. And I think that, sadly, I think a lot of people think that that's just life. Mm-hmm. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, it's just my season." And yes, there's definitely something to be said for the season of life you're in. But you should be able to enjoy it regardless of the season you're in.
Yes.
So we're all about like enjoying and thriving and loving what you do and loving your parenting, and not thinking that each day is drudgery, and not wondering why the heck you feel like you're drowning all the time. So like, I think that is probably the thing that we see the most, is people that just, they look like they're drowning. They look like they're exhausted. Mm-hmm. And it's not just the exhaustion that comes from maybe having a child that's still nursing or at night, or somebody that's up in the night. It's like the exhaustion that comes from like, I'm going to go to bed and I have to do the exact same thing again tomorrow. And it's just not fun. And we don't want you to feel like that. Like, life should be fun, and it should be, living it should be fun, and it should be adventurous. And yeah, there's dips, and yeah, there's times when you're more tired than others. Like I said, if you've still got a baby that's nursing at night, or if you've got a 2-year-old that's trying to sort out the sleep piece. So I think that that you have to really be in a place where you're determined to really gather this family rhythm piece. And so family rhythm is just something that we spend a lot of time convincing people that they actually drive it, and that it doesn't happen to them.
Yes.
That they're like that they're in charge of it, that they get to say, that they get like, that they have a say in what's going on, and it's not just things that are happening to them.
They're driving the boat.
Right. And because I think that when we allow life to happen to us, then we're not being active about what we want in life. And we are absolutely like the creators of what we get. And so if you're getting a lot of crazy, then you have to stand back and go, how am I creating that? But with regards to family rhythm, it's like, family rhythm is not just what you do every day. It is also how you frame out your month, your week, your year, holidays that you celebrate, what you eat every day, everybody's sleep. There are so many pieces and facets, I think, that go into that. But if you just start with like the idea of rhythm, and I was thinking about this the other day, and if you got our newsletter, then, or if you read our blog post, then you probably read this concept that I came up with. Rhythm should flow like a river. And I actually didn't come up with that piece of the concept. And then somebody will say, well, what's schedule? Schedule's the boat that floats on top of the river. Mm-hmm. So they're different. They're one drives the other, and one is a mechanism for the other. But if you just have the schedule floating on top of a dry bed, it doesn't move very well. It just feels like it's being pulled along. But if you've got rhythm in there, then it can float on top of that river. And so what I mean by that is having anchor points of at least when you're rising and when you're going to bed and when you're eating every day. That's like the foundation of it, right? Like if you, and I'll have mom say, but we have a set bedtime every day, but it still like falls to hell in a handbasket. And so we work with this concept of, okay, well, bedtime doesn't actually start when you say it's time to go brush your teeth. Bedtime starts at dinner time. So how was dinner? Was dinner planned or was it a rush? And then what did you do after dinner? Was there a bunch of TV and gaming going on, or were you creating this quiet space? Because we know like what happens when when we don't create that quiet space.
We know if we allow anything to like energize or ramp up for that gearing down to bed, we're gonna have a problem.
Right. So unless it's Bob Ross that you're watching, I would suggest there's nothing right before bed, because it's too much for them to then be able to wind themselves down. A lot of families are really adamant about a bath before bed, and we actually say no about bath before bed. And we have a lot of pushback on that one. And the reason why we say no is most children are not relaxed by bath. Most children find it as a way to get their second wind, and not consciously, of course, but it definitely, children often get re-energized when they're in the bathtub and they're playing and it's exciting. And if there's a sibling in there too, then there's fighting that could be happening. So there's all these pieces that could be going on before bed that aren't conducive to sleep. So I say if you're adamant about a daily bath, maybe try to have it before dinner, and then let dinner be your anchor to sort of slow into the bedtime routine. Or if you have the ability, do your baths in the morning. That tends to be fairly successful here. Or in the middle of the day. I mean, people say, oh, well, that's really silly. Why would you do a bath in the middle of the day? It's a really great break. I mean, we found it to be a great break for all of our kids when they were younger. From I would say from 4 to 8, probably it's a breathing out. I know that as an adult, if I've got like busy crazy, I love to just take a shower in the middle of the day. It's just not a luxury that we are often afforded because we have so many other things to do. But having this space to reimagine things, because that's the other thing, being open to how you could do things rather than it has to be this way because you've always had it this way. We have to be open. We have to be open to, and we've been in that place. We've been in that place where we're like, okay, nothing is working. So what should we try?
And it's worth experimenting.
It absolutely is worth experimenting. I think that when we get in a rut of thinking how it has to go, then we are, we're the cup that's so full that there's no more information that can be handed to it. And you really want when you're on this parenting path for your cup to always have room for something else in it. Like always. We've been at this a long time, but we're every day learning something new, whether it be specific to our children and what it is that they can use, what they can, work within their temperament and the things that they have going on, or whether it's something that we learn that we can help the people that we work with. I think that understanding this space of being open and being teachable is incredibly important for parenthood. I think, especially if you're only on your first or second go around, we are learning things from number 5 that number 1 never could have taught us.
Yes.
I think that's really important space to be able to look at each child and sort of gain new things from each child. But this family rhythm piece too is of course it's deeper than that. So if you're really struggling, step back and ask yourself, do I have a menu in place? And often people will say, oh yeah, I know what we're eating for dinner every night. It's more than just dinner. Because breakfast is a meal and lunch is a meal too. knowing what you're eating and making sure you have what you need in the house to do that. Now, I understand there are people that say to me, I only make my menu once I see the sale ad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do it and go buy it, and then drive it. And if that's a rhythm, then say the sale ads come out on Sunday. Seems like they're live on Monday generally for most grocery stores, and most of them are alive for either 7 or 10 days. So make your menu on Sunday when you get the ad. Monday, go shopping for it, and be ready then for the rest of the week. And we like to do like 10 days so that we always know what we're eating on those 2 overlap days where we're trying to figure out the next space. Because what happens when we don't do it?
Well, then we're not in charge and something else is in charge.
Right. And it's okay to go eat out from time to time. We've done that. That's something that we really enjoy. But I think what ends up happening is that then you're scrambling. And when you scramble, the kids feel your energy and they feel your scrambled energy, and then they play out that scrambled energy. And you definitely don't want that before bed, because that's definitely not a...
And even the kindest, most gentle child can have moments where they're opportunists.
Absolutely. And I think that people kind of like get flinch when I say that children are opportunists, but it's not their fault. They're learning, and that's how they learn. They go, oh, there's an opportunity right there, I'm gonna go for it. They're learning, and it's nothing bad. It just is. And to recognize it as a parent means that you recognize that they are in a developmental space that we're not. We have more self-control than they do, but we've been around the block, as parents a few times. And hopefully we know whether or not we should take that opportunity or go, they're not going to appreciate that right now. Children don't know the difference. Mm-hmm. So that often happens when we're not planned out. So if you're really struggling, I would say look at your menu, look at your rising and sleep times. If sleep's a struggle in your home, then I would for sure look at the free ebook that we posted it in the Peaceful Foundations group, and you also get it as a freebie when you sign up for our newsletter. So and you can do that at peacefulfoundations.com. And it's this mini ebook that we put together along with an audio and a video that's all about sleep. And sleep is so important. It's so important, and it's something that so many people often neglect. We've neglected it. It's easy to get out of balance with sleep. It's easy and you're like a night owl. Eric loves to stay up. Like his, one thing that you say a lot is, I don't want to be tired.
Yes.
He has so many things he wants to do.
I have a lot of things I want to do, but there's a point when you're not going to do any of those things well if you don't take care of something.
And the next day will be a mess if you don't sort of, really decide, okay, I'm going to be a grown-up. Because that's the great thing. When you're grown-ups, you get a lot of choices that we didn't have when we were kids. Well, we had them, but maybe not realized. You get a lot of choices when you're a grown-up. And one of those choices should be to be rested. Because when you are rested, guess what? You're a better parent. When you're rested, you're not angry and grouchy and wanting to yell and nitpicky and all of those things. You've got to get some rest. So I invite you to grab that free ebook that we have. It's all about sleep, all about, we have some spiritual implications of like what happens during sleep and or what people believe happens during sleep. We have discussions about how we have gone through different sleep issues, sleep struggles. And ways to transition children as they're getting older into a healthy sleep space, because sleep is dang important. And when we're talking about these little guys, guess what? We're teaching them how to sleep now. Kristen says the ebook was great. Thank you. You're welcome. I had a lot of fun putting that one together because sleep is kind of a hot button for us, probably because we've been through so many sleep struggles. I mean, there is probably, if I look at all of the kids, with the exception of Samuel, who is the most chill child, his only problem is that he's like Dad. He would like to stay up because there's so many things that he could be doing without his little sister around. And when it's quiet, the temptation is to do all of those things.
Yes.
But out of 5 children, 4 of them have had some sort of sleep issue. And it's, in varying degrees, from wouldn't sleep at all to needed help getting over that sleep bridge. And so the ebook really talks about like what you can do for all of those things, and different supplements that we've tried, different routines and rhythms that we've tried over the years that have helped in varying degrees. And it really depends on the child. And the other thing that I think is important is when you try something new, to not just like go, oh, it doesn't work after the first day. Try it again. I would definitely say that anytime you're doing any kind of parenting change, trying it for at least 7 days, I think is important, because it takes longer. It doesn't take them as long to create a habit as it takes us as adults, but it does take more than a day. It does take more than a day.
Especially if you have kids that are very resistant to change.
Right. So any kids that might have spectrum issues or any kind of special needs. But what's interesting, I often think about our oldest son is almost 22, and he's on the autism spectrum, fully functioning adult, amazing human being. But I remember that as a teenager, he'd be like, it's a habit now. Like remember the time he decided he was going to take a shower every day, which we were all really thankful for. But he was like 15 maybe, and he was like, this is what I'm doing every day. And then it was really hard if we needed him to not, for some reason, if we were doing something else, because he was kids on the spectrum tend to be incredibly rigid. And so a lot of him in his maturity process has been like being able to go with the flow a little bit more. And so if you've got children that are on the spectrum and you're wondering how in the heck you're going to parent them into adulthood, well, a lot of it is like helping them to deal with things that are coming up and not freak out about them. And so we've done a lot of work with him on being flexible, and that is that's a huge thing. Okay, Kristen says, yes, I agree. My 7-year-old doesn't take well to change. We are trying so hard to get him in good sleeping pattern. It's really hard with him. He is on the spectrum. So my question for you would be, is it getting him to sleep, keeping him to sleep, or the fact that he wakes early? Usually, most children that I have seen, once they get there, they can stay there. However, Soraya would convince herself, she would wake herself up. And so that's our youngest. Waking yourself up becomes a habit. So you have to work to break the habit and keeping him asleep. So with her, we had to be very, hopefully you watched the video. The video and that stupid toy, I'm telling you. Waking up becomes a habit. So if you can get them through the habit, get them over the habit, and because they create a habit so fast, they're so young, they create a habit. Sometimes one or two nights, like one night it can be an anomaly. 2 nights starts to become a habit, and you have to really go, okay, this is not a habit we want to encourage. And so you really want to step back and look at, okay, how can we break this habit? And I think especially at 7, having her involved in it was huge, because I think that it wasn't just, you need to do this. It was, we need to work together to break this habit. And we talked about it being a habit. We talked about, she is 7, so she's not 14. So it's not it's a lot different when they have more intellect behind them than they do when they're 7. But we did talk about like, what's a habit? And a habit is something that you do over and over. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to happen. And we talked about other habits that we do have that are good habits versus habits that maybe are bad habits. And so really being able to talk about that was super helpful. And then we made a goal. And of course the goal was keeping her asleep, or at the very least in her bed. And so it started with keeping her in her bed, and not yelling to me from across the house when she was awake.
Yes.
I'm awake again. I just can't sleep.
I don't think I'll ever
I don't think I'll ever go to sleep.
I don't know how to go to sleep.
That was my favorite. I don't know how to go to sleep. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
So just close your eyes and stay still. So we had to work with this idea that we were working together. And we evaluated our bedtime rhythm. And this was recent. I mean, this happened in the last 6 months or so, 6 or 8 months. And after she had been sleeping fairly well for several years. I mean, she was not sleeping very well as a young child. And we did some energy work and got her working on some sleep. But we had some struggles. So Kristen says he started when he was a newborn and sick in the hospital. They would wake him up in the night to check him. When he finally came home, he would wake up screaming every night. Now he's 7. So the screaming doesn't happen anymore, but he still wakes up. So it's just a habit. So I would seriously, Kristen, I would work together to come up with a solution. And for her, it was something that she wanted. It was a carrot for sure. But, and I am not I'm not the rewards mom. I'm not like here's a candy bar for doing what I asked you to. I'm not that mom. But I definitely think that when we step back and we look at what us as adults, when we have a goal, we want the mother load when we get to the goal. We want the exciting piece when we get to go. If you set a goal that you're going to raise $5,000, guess what? When you get to the $5,000, the $5,000 is your goal, but woohoo, you're having a party, you're excited, you feel good about yourself. That's what we wanted to bring to her. We do a lot of self-actualization, big life journal kind of things with our kids. And so this idea that they can create their reality is huge. And it's something that we work with continually, and we have for a lot of years. So I think about our adult children. None of them are doing for their life like what we in our heads thought they would be doing. No. But they're all doing what they determined to do.
Yes.
They're all doing what they set out to do, and they're making it happen. And in very interesting ways. And sometimes not ways that we would choose, or the ways that we're excited about, but they're doing it. And so that's something that we instilled in them from the time that they were very young. And so with this situation that we had with our 7-year-old is we just said, okay, what is it? Let's come up with a goal. The goal is that you sleep all night. And did we say a week? I was trying to remember. We didn't want it to be giant like a month.
It was either a week or 10 days. I was trying to remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was a shorter goal. It was a shorter duration. Yeah. And it seems like we had a couple of signposts. After 3 nights, then we went to Target and picked out some little, in the $1 and $3 areas. Picked out some little pieces to help her get to the goal. And then there was the bigger goal at the end. Yeah. The bigger goal at the end was that stupid toy. I think that was the keyboard malfunction.
Oh, yeah.
It was this stupid toy. But it was something that she had been pining over. And so we took her and we had these littler goals. Because I think you're right. I think it was 10 days because we had 2 or 3 signposts in between there. Yeah. She wanted a set of markers that they had at Target. She wanted this little coloring something, and then she wanted this stupid toy that she thinks is amazing. So I should stop calling it a stupid toy. So we laid it out and we said, after 3 days, after 3 more days, then you can get this one. And we let her pick. We let her pick which one she got. Of course, the big one had to be at the end. We let her be in control of as much as possible. And then we had things set up. And during the day, she could come and she could look at them. But she knew it could not be hers until she had reached her goal. That was so helpful. Because it happened because she went from the first night of, I don't think I can sleep, or I'm afraid I can't sleep, to the second night of, oh, I slept, but I'm afraid I can't do it again. But I really want to get to my goal, so I'm going to at least try. And then, it went from there, and we were able to reestablish a better habit. And now she wakes up every now and again. but she might get up to go potty and she gets right back in bed and goes back to sleep. One thing that helps is we do have white noise sounds in their room that's helpful. And they like to listen to, I think they do the ocean one, it seems like, which we live by the ocean. So like having that sound at night is super helpful to them. They do listen to a story before bed, but it's not a story that's allowed to be on all night long because that becomes a crutch then. Of them waking up to listen to the story. So white noise, and made the goal. And at the end of the goal, she was so excited. It's just kind of funny because I was watching the video that we made the other day and I was laughing because I couldn't tell you where that toy is. She was so excited about it. She knows where it is, but she was so excited about it. And then she just put it away with her other toys. She can become quite a hoarder very easily. So I think that if you are trying to tackle some big things like sleep, I would look at it, especially for a child that's 7 and up, I would look at it as, how can we work on this together? Because it can become like butting heads too easily. I need you to do this and you won't do this, and then you're clashing and then everybody's exhausted. But instead looking at it from a perspective of, how can we work on this together? How can we get the child's buy-in? Because you need the child's buy-in or you're going to keep spinning your wheels. Yes. So that's just sleep is just one facet of family rhythm. I think it's probably one of the most important. The relationship that you have with your partner, I think, is huge. The relationship that you have with your children is huge, like how you're greeting them every day and things like that. So if this topic is interesting to you at all and you're not part of our Peaceful Foundations group, please hop over and join us. It's Peaceful Foundations. It's a group over on Facebook. We also have a blog, and we'll be writing about the specific topics every week before we do a new video. And there's a great graphic over there now that sort of lays out questions that you can ask yourself when you're trying to sort out your family rhythm. And there are questions like, when was the last time I had alone time for myself? Even if it's just 10 minutes. I did say to our 7-year-old yesterday, I said, don't make me have to go to the bathroom and shut the door. Just give me just 3 minutes of just not talking to me, or I'm going to go to the bathroom and shut the door, because the bathroom is a sacred place in our home. Because we've instilled in them that that's a private space and that you have to wait patiently on the outside of the door. But as soon as I said that, she was like, okay, I'll give you some space. But that takes years of working on what works sort of in your home. But those are the kind of questions. When was the last time you had alone time? When was the last time you had alone time here? When was the last time that you went on a date? When was and a lot of people will laugh and go, oh, I haven't been on a date in years. You should go on a date every week. When was the last time you checked in on your sleep? So there's a lot of questions like that I ask myself when I feel our family rhythm kind of going a little cattywampus. So hop on over to our blog and check that out. And I guess we will see you next week. Yeah. I forget what we're talking about next week. Oh, we're talking about holding the space next week. We are, and it's dad focused. It's dad focused, holding the space, because you're going to talk about media, I bet. Yes, I am. Yes, he is. And so please join us next week, and we hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you later. Bye.